Thank you everyone for coming. This is, I told you the date today.
26th?
May 26th, Sunday, 2012. Julius Caesar. So Melina's had her show up for a month, and she is here today to talk about the show and her work. So please welcome.
So, since I'm the only one in the chair, I feel like should apologize beforehand if I accidentally flash you, but I am wearing underwear.
What?
Don't worry. See anything.
Close the door.
Close it?
Yeah.
We were going to keep it open because it's too hot in here.
Oh, okay.
Is that cool?
Freaks me out.
It freaks you out? You want to sit here?
No.
So you can't see?
I'll just calm down.
It is closed. So, yeah. I thought that I would just sing you a song right off the bat, and maybe that'll make everything as awkward as it could possibly get, so that it'll get more comfortable from that point on. I couldn't decide which one to do because I have two songs that I wanted to sing for you. So I guess I'll sing this. I just decided. I was waiting for you. That's why I was mumbling.
Thanks, Melina.
Yeah. So I wrote this song, and it's like kind of a clumsy attempt at writing a song the way that I've been trying to make my artwork, I guess. Or like thinking about just that toggling between when you're doing something like an everyday thing and then it becomes elevated into something kind of dramatic or over dramatic, so it becomes like something special or just more singular, like hanging out in the bathroom and using the blow dryer, and then all of a sudden maybe you're not just in the bathroom, you're like a hero and your hair's blowing because you're on top of this skyscraper and you're about to like just give up everything to save the world, and you forgot to tell your boyfriend that you loved him beforehand, and the note that you wrote like blew off or something, and so it's like super crazy all of a sudden, but it's all in your head and you're still in the bathroom, and the wind is actually just your blow dryer. So I tried to make all the verses in the song be like just everyday stuff that I would do, and then have the chorus be something else. And I picked just everyday stuff from my life, and for the chorus I picked my favorite character from this Anne Rand book that I've read like 1,000,000 times, called We the Living. And at the end of the book, she just goes through all this crap, and she loves this one guy, so she uses this other guy to take care of him because he has tuberculosis. And the other guy's like crazy about her, and he's super awesome, but she loves this like crappy guy. So she uses the good guy, and then he finds out and he kills himself. And then the bad guy says, "Thanks, I'm cured," and he takes off to become like a gigolo. and she wanted to be an architect, but like couldn't get through school because there's just all this crazy stuff going on there in Russia. So she decides to go to America, and she uses all of her money to buy like all of these white clothes to wear when she's crossing the border through the snow. So she has like this white rabbit fur on and a wedding dress that she bought from some old lady, and like all these layers. And she's going through the snow and like freezing, and she ran out of food. And there's this, all of a sudden the book lets you go into this like patrolman's head at the border, and he's like kind of dumb, and he just can't wait to get warm and have something to eat, and has a gun, and just happens to look in the right spot and sees a rabbit, and he's like, "Oh, it's a rabbit, I'll try to shoot it," whatever. So he shoots at it, and it stops moving, and then whatever, he just goes back to waiting for dinner. But he ends up shooting the girl, and she dies in the snow. It's awesome. Super dramatic. So this is how the song goes. Went for a jog, a 4-mile circle, ankle hurts, where a broken plate stabbed a vein. That sounds dramatic, but really happened. Keep a slow pace, try not to care about my headphones. Well, the one on the right that's falling out. Kira, save me. Kira, act like a white rabbit in the snow, in a wedding dress. No one knows where you are. New underwear, mine must be 5 years old. The orange ones with the writing on the butt were a gift. Back in here, a back got in the house. We thought that it sucked people's blood. My cousin Shannon stayed underneath the blanket for a while. When she came out, she was all wet. That makes me think about another time I took a nap and got caught underneath my bed sheets. I was trapped, my head was held down as I pushed up. I cried out and someone came. Kira, save me. Kira, act like a white rabbit in the snow, in a wedding dress. No one knows where you are. Loudest clapper ever. Yeah, I was realizing while I was singing it that all of the verses are kind of dramatic in a way anyway, but I guess that's what I'm trying to get at with this video and with the kind of materials that I use in these drawings and just trying to like find that balance of like it being really familiar and maybe a little ugly and just like regular, and then but it's special to you for some reason and you're making it into something really important. And I think that kind of like keening for some kind of drama or for something going on is really natural for us to do. My dad is telling me that he's a therapist and a lot of his clients create dramatic scenarios in their lives to feel stuff. Like they'll pick fights with their partners just to feel something, or to make some kind of emotion happen. And I don't think it's necessarily because they're lacking in like feeling stuff, but maybe, I don't know, maybe like the day-to-day life just isn't enough, and we definitely look for that stuff in like going to the movies, and I was thinking when I was trying to get ready for this talk about how I used to read a lot of romance novels when I was like way too young to be reading them, and I wish that I never had. And I really got into them, and I, of course was like curious about sex and would always read all of the sexy parts and stuff, but the part that really got me was where the girl inevitably got into some kind of situation where there was a miscommunication, and she got hurt by accident and like was just like totally devastated. And I used to just feel so bad, like I would actually like feel like so painful in my chest, and I would just be like, "It's not there. She didn't say that. You thought she did, and now he's gone." But there was something about that feeling that made me feel fulfilled or something like that. And that's like what I got from reading those books. And I think you can kind of get that from songs sometimes too. Like if you hear like a really good song that it just kills you, or gives you like that shiver. So I've been kind of like figuring that out with music too, and listening to music while I'm making drawings and trying to figure out how to draw that. I don't know if I'm doing it or not, but that's what I've been fooling around with lately. And before I get done with my little presentation, I have another song I was gonna sing that's from a journal entry of mine from when I was like 11 or 12, and I guess I sort of been coming to terms with how like cheesy and dorky and romantic I was as a kid, because I think for a while I tried to pretend like it didn't happen because it was embarrassing, and you just don't want to admit those kind of weaknesses about yourself. And since I've been kind of like accepting that, I've been using the journal more and more for like song lyrics, and using my memories more and more for my lyrics. And there's a photograph that I just happen to have that just captures a moment where I was like really in the middle of like pretending I was somewhere that I wasn't. And me and my sister were on this whale watching boat with my family. And they're like, "You get together and take a picture." And so Aurelia is standing in front of me, and the wind is blowing my hair, and I have really long hair. And I knew that it was all in front of my face, and that I was supposed to like move it, but I didn't. And I was like, "This is it." So anyway, you can see it. It's in the top photo there. That's pretty hilarious. And we'll just pass that around. And I brought my journal with me here. I thought it would be funny if I just read you an entry, just randomly. This doesn't have a date, but this is what my handwriting looks like. And it says, "Dear Diary, I've decided I don't feel fulfilled by talking to you. You never say your opinion. Samaya loves her best friends." That's my sister. "How come? I want her to love me. I hate her friends. How could she make me show myself when I didn't want to?" I don't know what that's about. "I hate them. Maya, don't leave me, please, please. I need solitary confinement. Peace, happiness, dancing. I need someone." This is like somebody who I've never even like held anybody's hand or anything, but I'm convinced that I need like a partner in my life. "Oh well, who cares about my feelings? I suppose I'll have to understand them myself before anyone else can." Very wise. I'm selfish and I want the Samaya I thought she was. I'll probably see you later. I think I need love. I mean, a sign, a rose, candy, a hug, or a pat on the back. Anything. I'm desperate. Yeah. So that's that entry. And I don't know if maybe I'll just sing you another song and we can talk for a second and that sounds like a plan. Just to round up the whole embarrassing journal entry scenario we got going on here. So these are 2 different entries that I turned into songs that you guys will remember from school. You're kind of a little older, like 2 years ago. Finally, I'm returning to you. It has been many, many long months since last I slept in my very own bed. Tomorrow I turn 15. Samaya will go away to Roger Williams College in the fall. And Amanda to Hesser. I still don't have a boyfriend. I'm flat and I have a zit. And my period life sucks. So again. And this one is a little bit longer. It's not hard to see that I will be alone forever. I can't let myself, I don't want to be alone. Suspended in the air, turning and turning. My arms crossed over my chest that rips red and terribly down my middle. Like the rind of my soul, I feel so alone. I desperately don't want to be by myself. I want to be kissed and loved. I want to let myself love. I don't want prohibition. I don't want to be alone forever and ever and ever and ever. It's not fair, I'm older now. I'm old enough to love someone. I can do it, I will do it. Give me pain and heartbreak, diseases and ugliness. Just give me a kiss first. I can't accept this future of nothingness. Standing like a pillar, single and solitary. Alright. What do you think of that photo? Pretty hilarious. Right? I like how my nails are like super.
I know.
It's fancy.
Frosted.
So, how do you guys think I'm doing in this sort of investigation? B minus? I mean, I guess when you see the drawings, do you get anywhere close to what I'm talking about, or does it just go? Because I think that's where I'm really struggling. The music stuff actually is getting pretty interesting. I have a band, and but I have this like desire to keep making stuff too that's like with my hands, and I started trying to make these clothes that I could wear while performing to try to like still incorporate them in with the songs, and just figuring out other ways to like make them all come together so they're more cohesive. So I guess it makes sense. I thought about just wearing these, but I couldn't figure out how to make them look good. But it's an idea. Really, like every time I'm about to go on stage, I wimp out and I have to wear something normal because it's so scary to be up there anyway. But maybe that'll be the next step. Just be like that weird girl that wears like window screens.
Well, can you talk about the window screen? Like as a material?
Yeah. I made some other pieces with them at the Empty Bottle show that I had a little while ago, and prior to that, I was making the drawings on this heavy plastic that you could still run through the sewing machine. I think maybe you saw some of those at school. So there was this like kind of see-throughness, but they're still heavy, and I've always been really into like using just like regular everyday materials and making them, dressing them up and making them look fancier than they really are, but they're still recognizable as heavy plastic or window screen or whatever I might be using. And I think that's part of, I'm just part of, well, I guess my identity is that I'm just like a regular person who has these moments of like glory, where like something awesome happens, or like where I feel really good. And you guys, I feel like you guys like me and I like you, and there's like this thing happening. But really, at the end of the day, I go home and I put my pajamas on, or like stand in front of the mirror, and I'm just a person that has like all these problems and has to go to work. And I think there's a connection there with like these regular materials. I don't want to pretend I'm anything that I'm not, I guess, anymore at this point. I don't know, I just made that up, but it seems to make sense. And yeah, I mean, as far as like, I just like that they're see-through, and almost like figures in a way, like there's a body to them in the way that they hang, and they're still close enough to material like the heavy plastic, and I have that connection with making garments and stuff. I've been doing that for a long time.
Well, I think, I've known Melina for a really long time. I've like known you for what, 10 years?
Yeah.
And I've seen your work. I've known her work as long as I've known her, pretty much. And she has this way of using materials, like concrete things, in this really ephemeral way. And I didn't realize it until a few years ago that somehow this ephemerality is connected to this place of longing, and that there's a certain lack of commitment to, like in like these drawings especially too, like there's this lack of commitment to form, or like to itself, that every time you hang these pieces, they're gonna turn out differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what am I trying to get at? I think maybe if I think about these drawings that way, I can relate some part of that to like your videos, like in your performances. But they seem so much lighter than your songs, right? And your performance too. I mean, you joke around and you always do introductions for your performance, but especially your journal entry songs they're very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that but an 11-year-old, 15-year-old Melina wrote them, but I can still I don't know. It's just it like brings me to a really personal place, like in ways that maybe these drawings don't. And I'm not saying that they need to, but there's this huge sort of like split in time between like the way you address your subject in your songs and in your videos versus like the drawings.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'm like seeing the gap, but maybe that gap is a useful place to work from.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it. I mean, I have like a completely different relationship to drawing. I've been making drawing forever, and I thought of myself as somebody who makes drawings.
Yeah,
And now all of a sudden I'm a performer, but I make performances in a completely different way.
Right.
And
But they're always like very anecdotal, and I think knowing, I mean, really, because like you always have like super long stories to tell me like, when you're working on a drawing or like on a video. So I think, I'm sure it's because I know you so well, but your like the biography comes through so heavily, and I mean, I guess that you can say that about anybody's work, but it's so crucial in reading your work. I mean, you're like, you even wear your work too.
Right.
You make your clothes now when you're like starting to wear them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me there's a interesting connection between the specificity of the screen, like the window screen, and garments, like clothing. Like what you're dealing and what you're making marks on is like the sort of mediator between what is really of interest, right? Like we use clothes to adorn our bodies, but like really we want like the bodies underneath, or like you have a more, like usually you're on the inside looking out, like at least that's the position I put myself in when I see like a window screen close up, and it's like that screen is mediating what, you know, whatever's outside, and that's like what you're longing for. So I think that, you know, your way of, or, you know, that also is underscoring this kind of like, this longing for me. It's like all of this interest and all of, you know, all of this evidence of physical activity and time spent, it's all really just on, it's like on the mediator, you know, and then like what is actually really, like in these, that actual like, you know, the implied object of desire is absent, right? Because they're just like on the wall. And then, I don't know, it's complicated, you know, with like wearing the clothing in a way that I like, you know, I mean, I think you're like working through it. But yeah, I think for me, I am responding more to the specificity of the screen than I did to like sheet plastic, as far as those like, you know, those reeds or those like metaphors go.
I get the sense of what people are saying to like the mediation and the anecdotal, and they read to me as discarded. Like I keep thinking about them as like, and discarded in the sense of like, I was working on this and then I didn't really know, and then I was just like, okay, whatever, it's done. And it just seems like what, I mean, from the studio visit that we did, like what's really moving to me about your practice is this like really raw, I'm in the middle of it, you know? Like, I mean, even the way that you're doing the talk where you're like, well, what do you think? I don't really know what they are yet, or something. Like, you're gonna conduct your talk like it's a critique or something, you know? So there's this sense of like,
well, I really
a constant
wanted
transformation,
to hear you
right?
guys. I mean, I just, yeah, I feel like I'm trying to be as genuine as possibly can, and so I wouldn't act like I know exactly what I'm doing, because I don't.
But the genuineness is in the I'm in this place of unknowing, you know? And maybe we're all always in the place of unknowing, but most of us wrap it up for the performance, and then, you know, and then let it fall apart again privately, but the having it be like, I don't know where it is, but I let that go. But it just seems like there's so much skin shedding. Like, so they feel like discarded skins or something, just like, that's where I was. It's not where I am anymore. I'm trying to let that thing go. I'm trying to let that thing go. To me, that's way more.
That's funny. That's how I think. I have to meditate every day because I have a lot of anxiety, and I just made up this thing where I do like where I just like let things go. Like if my shoulder's hurting, I'll be like, "Whoa, that one go," and then my brain will be like, "I think the cat just walked by," and I'll be like, and then just like you kind of almost have a pile of crap right next to you that's just pretend, but it's not on you. and then my brain's like worried about it. I'm like, we'll pick it back up as soon as the 10 minutes is over. But it's like just this, yeah, almost like it's a really good thing that you just said, because it's so much like something that I repeat almost every day. By the time it's over, I feel a little lighter, and I usually just like worry about everything.
Right. And the stitching on it feels that way to me too. You know, the sort of like repetitive back and forth. And I mean, the way that you talk, there's a lot of like formal decisions in them that they feel more like the way that you talk than like the things that you say. Like the way that your voice, you know, part of what's really lovely about your voice is that it doesn't feel like it's finding a solid place to be. It's like, you know, it's like it's in its own emotional space. It's really like it's not just awkward. It's like unsettling in a really great way. I mean, I guess I've been reading a lot of Lauren Berlant and thinking about precarity in all these different ways, and like you're really doing the like. This is precarious. This could fall apart. I have to go back to work. I don't know. You know, like hold it together, but don't. Like, and that's the sort of. I mean, I think the biggest critique I would actually give of this show is that like it seems like you thought you had to pull it back together too much. You know, like having the video, like that there was this like. You know, like we'll make it professional. We'll wrap the cord or whatever. But like I wish it was even more just like. The way that you sort of operate in the world, you know, like maybe these things would just be slumped on the floor or something. Like I don't know. I mean, there's something kind of nice about the breeziness of them. But I'll say one more thing and I'm gonna shut up. But that you kept saying regular, and I think like it's interesting that you're talking about regularity because you know the only formal connection I can make is to Tuttle, maybe. But there's definitely not regularity. Tuttle is an eccentric, and like. You know, regularity is when you put something in a frame and you make it, you know, you like do it, it's a rectangle, like that's the regular or something. So like in terms of, what's the word, the consensus about normal or something, like these aren't particularly consensus in any way, so it's really kind of hard to, you know, I don't know how regular a window screen is. I don't know that I can necessarily immediately identify them as window screens because of their floppiness. Like the more, you know, there's things about them that identify them that way, but there's also, they feel heavier than they feel when they're in the window. And maybe that's because light comes through the window and so changes my experience of the screen. So I usually look through it, but with these I have to look at them and that changes it. Yeah, I'll stop talking for a while.
I like the idea of a pile of crap next to you. I saw these and my first thought was about like homecoming or something like that in high school, and the football team comes and bursts through the big piece of paper. But then there's like a part of a pair of pants, or, and I was like, oh, this is all of that kind of night that might end up in a journal entry or like this experience, but these are the leftover moments, but it's also kind of like cartoon superhero like fragment moments too. And I actually, when I came to the opening, I was like, this is interesting material. I was like, but not only now I was like, oh, window screen, that's what it is. And the most amazing part is that where the screen overlaps with other screen, and you get some kind of strange visual pattern right there. And then I started like, oh, wind, this is moving back and forth, and maybe the pile of crap, there's other things in there to move through or to pick up and move around. I don't know. But I don't know, do you see these as kind of like support structures, or like, because I'm curious where a drawing goes onto the wall, whether or on your body, or becomes part of a performance. Like, I know that's all very fluid, and but why did you put these on the wall rather than right on your head? Or
I think because I wanted them to be like other guys in the room, like that weren't me. Almost like, I mean, I was thinking a lot about how the songs like make you feel stuff, and you get like an emotive reaction from them, and then I started thinking about how like your idea of people can do that, and how like you think about somebody, like a girl that you like. People always talk about they like having crushes, but then it gets ruined when you actually talk to the person, because you find out they're really like. And I think we all sort of make up ideas about people that aren't really them. They're our idea of them, and some of it's like, well, information they gave us and stuff we made up, and we got the story wrong and totally just have a weird memory that they were never even involved in. And after a while, you just have this friend that exists but only in your mind, and the other person doesn't even know about it. And so I was just thinking about them as two people that I know, and about my version of them is the one that they have themselves, which isn't real either, probably, I guess. Or I guess the most real, because they get to say but I don't know. I was just thinking about that. So that's why, I mean, I'm not supposed to wear them because they're not of me, but if I made one for myself, I don't know what mine would look like though. But sometimes I think of myself in one way, and sometimes I think of myself. I had to make like a bunch of them, and then like wear a bunch of them. I don't know. Sorry, I just went like crazy on that. But that's what I've been thinking about lately, is just where else to go with those connections that give you kind of like a visceral sort of emotional reaction, like music does, or that story in the book or whatever.
Is that what the story, like when she's wearing all the white? Is that part of the dance for you? Just like she had to take all of her selves with her?
I didn't make that connection, but it's like a really super, like a heavy part of that, the end of the book. Just how she's putting all these clothes on, and this is like creepy lady's like wedding dress. Like she just stays with the family, and they give her some white clothes to wear, and she's like, thanks. And they're like, bye. And she walks out. But I don't know if, I mean, I think when you put on clothes, like, and I thought about what to wear today, I wanted to control how you guys reacted to me if you don't know me, you know, and like by what I was wearing. So I think you do kind of, it changes who you are a little bit by what you decide to put on, you know, and like walk around. And so I tried to look nice, but I wanted to wear this so that you could see it because I made it. But then I wore nice shoes, you know, because I wanted you to think that I was rich. I put a necklace on that I don't usually wear. But you know what I mean? Like, it's all
super anxious.
layers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, even what you just said about explaining your outfit and the set of maybe deliberate and maybe anxiety-ridden decisions leading up to your like presentation of yourself today. And I think back to maybe Min's initial point about them having a kind of disregard for form and this sort of operative codes of form. And just like the more you talk, the more you're struck by like how, in a way, how kind of like light and simultaneously disappointing these are, because what they do is so different than what they have to hold for you, you know. And I feel like a sort of driving factor of the show for me is like how just like super semiotic it is. Like if I were leaving and explaining to someone like she's super stitched up all this window screen, it's like the narrative of the process I think is as powerful as the encounter with the objects, which does kind of like fall apart in the face of what they hold for you. And I feel like it's interesting how there are indicators of what they're doing and what, I mean, the tape is a recording device as well, just like what the screen has to hold in a way to manifest in this kind of persistent activity. And I think the sort of narrative drive is equally persistent. And it's just like what the objects do and like what they can provoke in me without the supplemental sort of textual things.
Yeah.
I mean, not as a criticism at all. It's just sort of interesting, like that's the gap. I think
Yeah.
that's being indicated. It's just like, is it just a pile? Are these things drawn at random from the sort of persistent recording drive you have in your life? Like, what's the viewer supposed to do with the pressure on these things to
Right.
hold all this stuff? You
Yeah,
know?
it's interesting. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I forget. I think I was listening to probably really embarrassing. I think it was like this Iron Maiden song.
That's
cool.
Don't worry, that's cool.
It's called "Run to the Hills," and it's about like these Native Americans that are running away from like white guys that are taking over, and so they're running for their lives. I just put it on repeat, because I just love it and it makes me have that reaction, you know. So I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like, dude, totally gonna get it. And then I stop and I'm like, am I just making this up and I'm the only one? Like, you know, maybe it's just that I had a lot of candy and I'm not even really feeling anything. And like, so how can you guys get anything out of it? But I don't know, I'm convinced that if I just keep on trying, it'll get weird enough that you'll be like, oh, or, you know, I totally see how I made one. And, you know, getting into that suspended imagination where you're like, I'm running with like my whatever I grabbed, you know, like, and hopefully I'll meet up with my family, but right now I'm in the woods and it's dark and you're just like, and of course the music's pounding.
Why is it, why are they so reduced? I mean,
They're withdrawn from, it seems, pretty quickly.
yeah, there's
Because
this
they're
like,
having more because it's yeah. But
yeah, but there's like so much. I mean, part of I think what Dana's saying, or part of what I'm getting is like why, because it's something Dana said to me for years and years, and so I know it very well.
I just have like 3 things that I say.
No, but this is a big important one. Like really trying to put the demand on the work so that you can get out of the way. And there's so much demand on you. Like, and I've seen this, you know, every time I ever talk to you, it's just like you're gonna hold this huge burden of trying to communicate this fucking big heavy thing. But they don't hold it very well, and that's part of the abandoned sort of feeling of them or something.
Yeah.
And the quickness and the lightness.
The quickness and the lightness, right? And that they're, and this, you know, the video too. That it's like it's got to be windy and wind and change, and I get that. But in terms of like how, what the studio, it's. I guess I'm just getting such a yearning from you for that. For that to hold more, and how could I get it to hold more? And like what the studio more and more is to me is like such an amazing space of privacy where I can work it out until it's right, and then it's just like I don't fucking give a shit what you think because I fucking worked it out. So like whatever I put on the wall, like even if you guys don't get it, it's all in there and fuck off. Like there's this like, you know, I don't. It does take the burden off in this way that like is kind of creepy almost. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
But it feels like you like don't quite believe that it could get in there, or this is like,
well,
did it happen? Oh God!
When I finished, I feel
you feel like it did.
empty, and like I can completely see it. And I guess I'm just at that point I'm worried that I am deluding myself. But that's I think an issue that it's just like
I mean, I totally agree with you, Molly, on like all of those fronts. But I feel like I feel like it's not necessary that we experience like everything that you are pouring into this.
Right.
I feel like they're almost in a way like in the way that screens are these things that are like surfaces that are made to be seen through or to like to pin things on. They're almost like proposals or like I guess like I see them as invitations and continuing your kind of generosity of your performances and your kind of presentation of storytelling. They're kind of like invitations for us to then maybe pin our, you know, ideas into it, or I don't know, in that way of like a proposal or like a holding space, but something for you to kind of like walk in, for it to fill like your peripheral vision and to kind of just like subsume you, but then for you to be able to like fill in gaps, each viewer to fill in gaps. So, I mean, that I think that's like asking a lot of the viewer, and at least like I think people like I think we would hope that you have your ideas about it and like reasons for it and everything. But I don't know if I need to know all of those things or for it to be like spelled out. But I
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give you guys too much information.
No, I love hearing it. I love hearing it. But I also, what I'm saying is there's like still room for me to do work on it.
Yeah.
I think this is, I'm sorry.
I don't see a lightness, and I guess where I feel like they're fast is maybe what makes them so sad to me, and that's where I get that reaction, I guess, like they're almost failing as in a beautiful way or something like that, which is kind of lame to say, but
I totally see it.
it's almost like just the one movement or something that happens that's like really beautiful and in a jumble of
But you really don't see the lightness in these? Because I feel like I've always seen that in all of your work, especially your drawings in particular. I mean, because they, oh my god. I'm sorry.
yeah.
No, it's like it's as if like, you know, these are like Halloween costumes that children try to make, and they're like trying to like stay afloat, and they're like running in this like weird art space, and from a distance they're saying hi, like they're like hi to like Richard Tuttle and Lichtenstein, and I see you like making those gestures to these like historical figures, like once in a while that happens. I'm not saying that you do that with like all your work, but it's I mean they have this self-deprecating humor. Maybe it's like a very specific Melina brand of humor so like I understand, I see what you mean by them being sad. I get that. It's as if you're like not allowing yourself to be in the same league as those big guys, like and like they constantly dream about being in the big leagues, but they won't do it. It's like it's just they just feel it's what a like stupid thing to say that these feel very like Melina, because like for those that don't know you, like that's a really
Well, everybody here kind of does now a little bit.
yeah. But people that might like listen to this talk,
Yeah.
like they may not know who you are.
Right.
So it's like now I'm having to like struggle to describe like sort of like the essence of like you, like how I perceive you, like and that's like very revealing of our relationship too.
Yeah. I think it's weird to have to do that for a drawing.
I know, but your drawings,
I'll have to do a little dance next to each one.
Yeah, exactly. But exactly just what you did now, that's like what these drawings are doing. Like they like want to occupy this kind of serious space, like it, but I don't know, you don't want it to be all serious either. So like so they have like these big gashes, but they never feel violent, for instance, like,
I don't see them. I don't know. I'm just gonna talk for a while. But for me, I keep going in some circles, and for me, what I always fall back on with this is that it's a puck. of the practice. And I think that's where, for me, it has meaning because it doesn't have to hold everything, right? Or it's like, and for you, it's like, well, what part is going in it, you know, or no, if it's not all of it, if it's not going to serve all of it, then I'll put part of it in, and then I'll feel, you know, I can feel something very different than, you know, giving it all, or going back to your history, or you know, being more genuine or less genuine. I just think that that's how I, after listening, and I don't really, so just from listening and hearing people talk, it's like, I mean, that's where that's what I'm getting out of this, is that it's that you're asking yourself, you're asking yourself, I guess, like you're only seeing a part of it, and you're responding to a part, which means that there's, you know, loss there and things like that. So.
You feel like, it feels like you're very concerned with us, with everything. Beyond just like the personal, for the most part, it's you're doing everything for us. I'm just kind of curious as to how you're, because these feel very rooted still in art language.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else that you've been doing here. I missed the performance, so I'm not sure what you did there, but everything else that you've been doing feels like there's something that you're trying to give away or give to us. And I'm kind of curious as how you are thinking about how you want us, how you want us to participate with you, like whether it's in our own heads.
Do you feel put upon by my behavior?
Say that.
Like forced to have to give something back?
I kind of want to be forced to participate.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like if you make us wear these instead, like while you're singing to us, I have like maybe that's something else to think about. I don't know. It's like that's like you said. You want these guys to be other people, like other things in the room, other guys in the room. We're other people in the room, and you got that performance, that empty bottle. I'm wondering like, is that a chance to like say, throw these things to the crowd and kind of say, this is what you do while I'm giving you these things too? I'm just curious as to like that participation.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing instead of having this things on the wall, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't thought of, I feel uncomfortable asking people to do things that they don't want to do. Like maybe put on something that they did plan on wearing that day. But I've definitely been thinking more about like asking people to participate musically, like with me, and I've asked people to close their eyes before, and that's really been kind of a good reaction, and just like clapping and stuff like that. But that's all sort of related to my singing, and not so much with the drawings.
Right. Are you concerned about the separation from the drawings and performances?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've been struggling with as far as like as the performance has been getting more successful and getting more attention, I just feel like sad for my drawings. And so I'm trying to like let them be involved somehow, you know, and or like carry them with me, because I think
how did the drawings, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine, I'm just trying to figure it out while I'm talking to you. So.
Like, do the drawings inform what you sing about, or what you intend to perform?
The ones that I'm wearing, or the ones in here this time? Yeah. I sang a song about a drawing at the performance, and I sang a song about harmonizing, which had to do with sort of with the video and just like having another self in the mirror, two-way mirror. And so, I wanted it to be like kind of cohesive like the song was about the drawing was kind of sad, of course, and yeah, it made me really think about who I was. I almost quit being an artist after that, and before it too, actually. But yeah, so I mean, I think about that stuff all the time, and I think that I resent my artwork, my physical artwork, and feel like it's my friend at the same time. So that's like a.
I remember when this is so. I'm just like.
Sorry, we're going on with some weird.
No, it's an awesome tangent, and it makes me think about like one of the conversations we had in your studio 2 years ago or whatever was about your teaching drawing at UIC, and what you're talking about. I'm just like I have this super beautiful image in my head of you, in terms of what Sean's suggesting, like teaching drawing or getting people to draw, but like kind of forcing this weird relationship. Like when you said like you feel sad for your drawings, you know, it's just like there's this super sort of they are fake people or something.
Yeah, you guys don't feel that way like sometimes about
paintings are.
I mean, people talk about like, oh,
drawings are
I really just a drawing I sold, like I'll never see it again, like that kind of thing. But like I really feel like I owe it to them or something. It gets really annoying.
Well, I think like
You have these voices in your head sometimes.
I think you should get more annoying with that. That's what I'm trying to say. That like that's actually.
I guess I've just been trying to figure that stuff out, like in the last couple of years.
Burden us with your emotional relationship to drawing.
I feel like that was like I was here all Sunday and I don't know you at all. I mean, I know you from you talking
Yeah.
here and we said hi like when you came in one other time, but I'm not familiar with your practice or your personality. I am much more now. But like I was here last Sunday sitting gallery hours, and so I was here alone and I missed the performance. So I came in and turned the monitor on, and I'm sort of very clinically literal in this way. So I saw the image of you, and in some ways I really like that video because you pull off. It was very earnest and like sort of real in this way that I think. Like I was never like, is she taking a piss? Like, is this like, you know, is this just like, oh, she's like giving this sort of, I don't even know what word I'm looking for, like this enlightened, wind blowing in the face, transcendental moment. But I was like, no, this is that moment. I was like, I'm sold. Let's go from here. And then because I was positioned between that and you just looking at the drawings, I never felt like you were looking at me as someone's looking at the monitor. I was in this weird position, and I was here for 3 hours. People came in and out sort of at various intervals, but I kept trying to almost like extrapolate or triangulate my position and make the drawings do what they were doing to you in the video. Because I just did this very literal thing where I'm like windows, wind, window screens, this is the air coming through here. This is like this moment when you're looking out a window or wind hits you and you feel this sort of transcendental, sort of like elevated, lifted up moment. And I was like, I see you doing this, you're looking at these drawings, you feel this way about these things. How do I get to do that? So I would keep like turning around, look at the drawings and be like, go. And then like I couldn't get there. And then I felt like there was something wrong with me in a sense. Like it ended up being this weird thing where I'm like, how come I can't arrive at this point that's in the video from doing this thing? Or like, how do I position myself between like Melina's subjectivity, the drawings, like what they do and their existence and myself and like where that space was. I mean, and it's like something that I think, and I don't know if that's your intention, something you're interested in, but like I look at a lot of art where people try and do that, like I'm hanging things on facing walls and like you're gonna be in between them, what the fuck are you gonna do? But this is the first time, and it happens a lot here because when sitting gallery hours, you're just like there for 3 hours or something, where I was like, what am I gonna do with this? And that seemed somewhat pertinent, at least to parts of the conversation, because I almost felt like I needed, like I got the glimpse that there was more personal stuff, and I didn't know about any of your songs or the journaling or the things that sort of go on as you're producing the drawings, but I got the sense that that was there, and I was having a hard time like accessing it or something. But I don't know, it was interesting. It was like fruitful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like makes sense.
Oh, that's super interesting because I think that that's probably the right thing to point out is that like the viewer maybe is a little bit superfluous. Like you said of a direct address where you're addressing your work and you're sort of restaging this kind of the making of a thing or whatever happens in the process. But there was a little bit of that too, a little bit of like dizziness for me, just like trying to catch this thing that I can't catch. And I think that goes back to Sean's point too about like maybe asking us to hold more. Because like we can, and I think we want to,
Yeah.
you know, and that goes back to what I was saying too, and I was trying to make this initially, is like the address of the way that the singing works, I think, is that it so forcefully and so kind of beautifully mobilizes attention. You know, just like you're with us and we have to hold it. And like this idea of like the painting as a container or as storage or as a recording device is like you're asking us to hold your grief anyway when you're singing it like this. And it's just like this the kind of frontal address of the video and of the songs and the kind of elliptical address of this is so disconcerting. And I think that's part of what's happening. It's not like a problem. It's just like part of what's going on. It's like what we're being asked to hold and sit for and digest and empathize with, and then what's being sort of like ambivalently, obliquely kind of kept from us too. And like this feeling that I think Chris and I are both trying to catch in here is like, are we supposed to catch it? Do you want us to catch it? Do you want to just like make us hold it and make us sort of recognize it? Because that's part of what you said, the shiver at some point, just like that shiver that you get when you're, you know, and it's like when you hear a good song, it's like, if it's the shiver of recognition, then we can get it here too. And if we do with the screen, it's just like, how much access are we supposed to have? Or do you want to, I think to Taj's point, do you want to provoke a shared experience? Or do you want to be like, no, mine, I'm the maker, you're the audience, and there's a clear and distinct split. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
This is super interesting.
Yeah, and plus you said how, like you could totally give it, right? Or I guess the flip side, you flip the coin and you make us give it. So like the mediator, like that's super interesting. I don't know what to do, and you figure it out. But I think that's it. Sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you and what Dana said, also Chris too, and I think I mean, you know, they do feel they seem very well behaved on the wall. And I think it's because they're presented as if they're artifacts to me, like you're trying to restage this like automatic moment. Like I know you like I've seen the way you draw and work, you know, like you can work really fast, and there's a lot of seemingly like arbitrary decisions that you make, like, you know, like second by second. So like you're changing things, like cutting things up, pulling these apart, and maybe it's like you're trying to restage that moment in this like gallery, you know, like that's making it seem so like well behaved and, you know, like very, very off the wall, when really the wall doesn't have, for like them being drawings, like they don't really care about the wall, which is strange. Like they're not off the wall, they don't have to be there.
Yeah.
So I think Molly's suggestion of, you know, I'm not saying that this is what they must go through, but yeah, like why not have them on the floor? Sure, like try that, like. So, yeah.
I keep thinking about the idea of not being a little frustrated with their position. Maybe the drawings are feeling sad for us. But I keep thinking about like the idea that these are part of a practice, and that's okay to be part of a practice, and you don't have to show us everything. That makes me think of all the other parts of the practice, and I keep thinking about like a blow dryer taped to a video camera or something like that. Like how amazing of a presentation that is, and you know, like wondering other ways if you want to implicate somebody. There's a lot of other parts. I keep thinking about play, like kids playing, but knowing that how hard that work is to play, and you know, the 12 times you retape the blow dryer up again, or I don't know, like how you try and keep that blanket attached to the chair so that it becomes a house, right? And like there's that tenuousness of play, which is usually seen as something very light. I'm starting to bring those points together.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's hard to play.
I'm thinking about what Sean said too about how Melina's work is very much concerned with us, the audience, like how we feel. But that's a really important part of your work too, like seeing the way people react to your work, like as you perform, for instance, that's really important. And just kind of going back to, I don't know, who voiced this? Was it you, Molly, that like Melina should burden us with like all her problems, right? Like with her work, or and then I'm thinking about this photograph of Eva Hesse in her studio. Like she's on the, and it's like a really devastating image to me. Like that's just thinking about, okay, what canonical like female artist can I think of like who like burdens me with all her shit whenever I like look at her work, and she's one of them for sure. And this was like a tiny black and white photograph I saw in the book of her like on her couch in the midst of all her work, and it just looks so like caustic and like toxic in there, and it was like her like unburdening all of her shit on me through like this photographer, you know, like that was like this photographer's work, I guess. He took that image of her. So I'm just like, well, how do you I know you want to like, because like you like sometimes the way you talk about things or think about things, like you do these things like in these like really dramatic kind of like, yeah, like romance novel way, like you want to incite this kind of like really big response, kind of like chain reaction of like these complicated kind of emotions that people don't really want to channel in your like daily life, that you want us to do that with your work. So like I don't know, like I never, and you can be like really messy in the studio, I know that, but I don't know if like that kind of mess is what you need in like here necessarily, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much room for you to play around in this work. I mean, just because like your attitude in doing these two is just you're kind of open to anything anyway right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there a kind of like, one of the things like, so they're both really eccentric and really like, you know, Tuttle's the only person I can think of in this one way, and in this other way there's sort of, you know, kind of constrained abstract paintings. We have like line and space, and you know, there's this real, I mean, and then they're both made out of basically the same materials. This one has pants, and this one doesn't have pants. But you know, they're basically the same materials, and one of the things I just keep thinking about in terms of play and in terms of like the anecdotal, and that you're reaching all over everyday life, and it's like orange underwear or this and that. And maybe it's just clothing, like maybe clothing is sort of like the theme or something, but it feels like it could be a much wider, it feels like it just could be anything you lay your hands on, and yet these are quite constrained. And that's something I just keep puzzling over, but then I keep thinking about it maybe in terms of language, and back to this sort of idea that we are so necessary, that like it is so much about communicating something, and that maybe that's why these are so constrained, because it's like it has to communicate, and you don't know what a rock attached to a string attached to like I don't even know, a mouse or whatever, you know, whatever would start to do to these, like that would just be like, I don't know what mouse means, like,
Yeah.
and maybe there's that language thing going on for you really strongly, where you don't know, like every material, everything, you know, like you think these shoes signify that you have money or something, like, I don't know if they signify that, they might, like, but I thought, I was like, interesting, so those are supposed to be money shoes, you know, like, but it's like there's so much about language and like all of the writing in it, and I think like maybe that to me is like the I don't know, the kind of crux of it, and that these are, like holding really tight to language still. But I just wanted one more time, like being in your studio and being less constrained to one language, like what really kind of blew my mind in your studio and doing the studio, because it was really like I came away like, she is weird and awesome and crazy, but using art to not be crazy, which is a good thing to do with it. But it was the sort of unlanguage part. It was when language got unmoored for me, you know, like when I was like, oh wait, but that, or what's happening, why there, or something, and it was like the irreconcilability of these parts, but then somehow that they only could reconcile with the way that your voice sounds or something, you know, like something really kind of intangible, that the thread for me was much more, I mean, I don't know, maybe more burden on us, or maybe just like trust us more. It might be more like, I'll follow you wherever the hell you want to go, and you haven't, like in the performance, I totally agree. It's taking me wherever you want to go, but in the drawings, like there's still that feeling of like, I don't know if you guys will follow, and I would just like to say that I would. That's the clearest thing I can say.
Cool. All right. Well, I just want to say that I really appreciate that you guys came, and it's like 95 degrees outside, to come and talk about my work. Really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
if anything occurs to you that you would like to say to me afterwards, our studio is right down the street in the corner. And I'm gonna sing with Joan of Arc at the Millennium Park on July 2nd. It's a Monday. And then we're gonna do like 4 of my songs, and I'm gonna try to wear something crazy, like a drawing. So it would be cool if you guys came. I'll give you a shout out if I see you in the crowd. All right, thank you very much.